Appraise the unit of plot, setting, and characterization in a material field to achieve the writer's purpose. As a review of the previous lesson, answer the 15-item exercise on pages 3 to 4 of your module. In the previous lesson, you have learned that textual aids are effective tools that you can use to retain information, organize complex ideas in a visual manner. The main function is to help present information in concise ways that highlight the organization and relationships of concepts. Using the graphic organizer below, write words that are associated with the word change. We live in a world that is full of uncertainties. The only certain is change. Change can either make us or break us. Change can either strengthen or weaken us. However, there is only one truth about change. It is inevitable. Time passes by even if we try to stop it. People change no matter how hard we try to deny it. The thing we can do is just to acknowledge and accept change. Read the story Big Sister by Consorcio Borge on pages 5 to 11 of your module. Read and understand the following questions carefully and look for the answers in the story. Write your answers in complete sentences. Who is the big sister? Why is this story entitled that way? What did Inxiang sacrifice for her brother Itong? What is the time period of the story? What changes have happened to Itong as he grew up? What is the conflict in the story? The story has basic but important elements. Among these are the plot, the setting, and characters. Now you read the fable of the crocodile and the peahen on page 11 of your module. What is a plot? In a narrative or creative writing, a plot is the sequence of events that make up a story, whether it's told, written, filmed, or sang. The plot is the story, and more specifically, how the story develops, unfolds, and moves in time. Plots are typically made up of 5 main elements. First is the exposition. At the beginning of the story, characters, setting, and the main conflict are typically introduced. Example: in the fable The Crocodile and the Peahen, the exposition was Once there was a greedy crocodile who was living on the bank of the Pasig River. The next element is the rising action. The main character is in crisis, and events leading up to facing the conflict begin to unfold. The story becomes complicated. Example: in the fable, the rising action is: one day, the crocodile thought of getting married, and he said aloud that he will give all that he has for a wife. The third element is called the climax. At the peak of the story, a main event occurs in which the main character faces a major enemy, fear, challenge, or other source of conflict. The most action, drama, change, and excitement occurs here. In the story, The Crocodile and the Peahen, the climax is: the peahen said that she will marry the crocodile because he is rich. Number 4 element is called the falling action. The story begins to slow down and work towards its end, tying up loose ends. In the fable, the falling action is: the crocodile asked the peahen to sit on his mouth so that she might not spoil her beautiful feathers with mud. The fifth and last part of the plot is called the resolution. It is also known as the denouement. The resolution is like a concluding paragraph that resolves any remaining issues and ends the story. And in the fable, the story ends with: the crocodile made a good dinner of his wife. What is setting? Setting is the time and place, or when and where, of the story. It is a literary element of literature used in novels, short stories, plays, films, etc., and usually introduced during the exposition or beginning of the story, along with the characters. Example of setting: place in the river bank of Pasig, the Pasig River. And time is one day. What is characterization? Characterization in literature is the process authors use to develop characters and create images of the characters for the audience. There are two different approaches in characterization. First is direct characterization. The author tells us what he or she wants us to know about the character. And the second is indirect characterization. The author shows us things about the character to help us have understanding of the character's personality and effect on other characters. There are 5 methods of characterization. An acronym, PAIRS, can help you recall the 5 methods of characterization. Physical description, action, inner thoughts, reactions, and speech. First, physical description. The character's physical appearance is described. For example, characters might be described as tall, thin, fat, pretty, etc. Does the character wear old, dirty clothing or stylish, expensive clothing? Example: the crocodile was described as with rough skin and with big eyes, while the peahen was described as one with beautiful feathers. Number 2, action, attitude, or behavior. What the character does tells us a lot about him or her, as well as how the character behaves and his or her attitude. Is the character a good person or a bad person? Is the character helpful to others or selfish? Example: the crocodile. He ate the peahen. The peahen, she listened carefully and began to examine the crocodile's looks. Number 3, inner thoughts. What the character thinks reveals things about the character. We discover things about their personalities and feelings, which sometimes helps us understand the character's actions. In the fable, the crocodile, he thought of getting married, while as for the peahen, she thought that the big eyes of the crocodile were diamonds. Number 4, reactions. Effect on others, or what the other characters say and feel about this character. We learn about the relationships among the characters. How does the character make the other characters feel? Do they feel scared, happy, or confused? This helps the reader have a better understanding of all the characters. Example: as for the peahen, I should be the happiest wife in the world. Speech. What the character says provides a great deal of insight for the reader. The character might speak in a shy, quiet manner or in a nervous manner. The character might speak intelligently or in a rude manner. Example: the crocodile, he said aloud, I will give all that I have. The peahen, she said to herself, I will marry the crocodile. For your activities, you do the following. Independent activity, guess what? on page 14. Directions. Arrange the jumbled letters to form the word being described in each item. Write your answer on the space before the number. Independent Assessment 1. Matching time on page 15. Directions. Analyze each word in column A and match it with the definition in column B and example in column C. Write your answer on the space provided before the number. Independent Activity 2. Time after time on page 15. Directions. Create a timeline of the important events for the story Big Sister. Independent Assessment 2. What's the gist? On page 16. Directions. After reading the story Big Sister, fill in the story element sections of your answers. Independent Activity 3. Content Creator on page 17. Directions. Infer the characteristics of the illustrations below. Consider the PAIRS acronym, the PAIRS method in doing this activity. Independent Assessment 3. I believe I can write on page 18. Directions. Using your answers from the Independent Activity 3, develop an event that involves all the characters using the setting drawn below. What I have learned. You are almost there. Let me know some of your learnings and your queries about this lesson. You write them down. The things that I learned are, the questions I have are, what I can do. Write a 3-paragraph thank you letter to the one who raised you up. It can be your parents, grandparents, and siblings who help a lot in your life. Remember to include the different parts of a letter and to observe correct grammar and spelling in your work. Your work will be graded according to the rubric below. Content, 10 points. Structure, 5 points. Spelling, 5 points. Grammar, 5 points. The total is 25 points. And for the assessment, I answered the 15-item test on pages 20 to 21. Additional activity. To intensify what you have learned, you write a slogan that will help and encourage other people to cope with change. You may now check your answers using the answer key provided, of course except for the essay, poster, and exercises with answers that may vary. Feel free to go back to whatever is not clear. If there is something not yet clear to you, you may consult your teacher during your class schedule. Congratulations, you are done with your self-learning. I hope you learned something new today. Get ready for the next module. Good luck!